and taking our money and destroying our land and selling the Aboriginal people's natural wealth to corporate monsters, they won't even pay us the royalties for the stuff they're stealing from us. That's how uncouth, unethical and immoral these people are. And it's about time this was dealt with. We can't continue down this road. Australia is not that blind that we can't see the truth. We need to do something. We have a look around the place now and we see all these lies that are being told. We get told that the Queen of Australia is the Queen of Australia pursuant to the Australia Act 1986. As I asked a magistrate one day, well, which one are we talking about here? Are we talking about the Australia Act Australia 1986 or are we talking about the Australia Act UK 1986? Because the Australia Act Australia gets its authority from the Australia Act UK. The preamble to the Australia Act UK says that the governments of Australia gave consent to the British Parliament to make this law for us, called the Australia Act, which gives authority to the Queen to act as the Queen of Australia. Well, that mechanism might work except for one small thing. Nowhere did the Parliament, any of the governments of Australia, ever ask the people of Australia who own this place whether or not we wanted them to consent to a foreign power making a law for us. That law has never been registered with the United Nations as a reciprocal treaty. That is required under international law. You know, these people were that drunk and that full of their own self-importance that they even failed to dot the simplest I or cross the simplest T. They were so eager to sell out and to undermine and to belittle the integrity of the Australian people, in particular the Aboriginal people and our sovereignty in this land, that they did everything without even considering whether or not someone was going to look at it. Well, not only have we looked at it, we've pulled it apart down to the atom. And we're aware of where we stand. And where we stand is outside of your jurisdiction. Your jurisdiction has no authority in our land. That's the cold hard fact. Any judge who sits under a British coat of arms and claims that it's his court or her court had best wake up to the fact that it's not. And if they're serving, we only have to look at the case of Sue versus Hill in the High Court of Australia, where the High Court determined that Queen Elizabeth is a power foreign to the Commonwealth of Australia because she's the Queen of England. Now, if she can't be anything other than the Queen of England, she certainly can't be the Queen of Australia. If the laws that create the position of the Queen of Australia have not been lawfully created, pursuant to both domestic Australian, domestic English and international law, then she's not the Queen of Australia. Now, I'm not real bright, but they must be dumb. They must be really, really dumb. If they, first of all, they think they can get away with it, and second of all, they put this rot in place. Now, why is it that Aboriginal people are incarcerated at a rate that is phenomenally beyond our proportion in the community? Why is it that we die younger? We have diseases. Aboriginal people in this country, in remote communities, have diseases in this country that have been annihilated in third world countries. It is genocide. It's all it is. The governments of Australia are trying to wipe out the Aborigine people. First of all, they tried assimilation, integration, and every other sort of Asian you can think of. But that didn't work because we're too resilient. Hybrid vigour. Can't wipe it out, brothers and sisters. Simple as that. And they better get their head around that one. If our parliamentarians have any integrity, and that is if capital letters, bold print, underlined, 48-point font in a 12-point font sentence, if our parliamentarians have any integrity, it's about time they sat down and spoke to us and dealt with us as the sovereigns that we are, and mind their place, and realise that they must come to us and do a deal. They must come to us and make amends for what's happened in the past. Because until they do, they're nothing more than liars, cheats and thieves themselves. They are committing the crime. They're endorsing the crime. They're assisting and aiding and abetting the crime. Whether or not they will openly acknowledge that, well, it's not debatable. They just won't. They don't have the integrity. But the fact is they're going to have to. This will not go away. This information's out there in more forms than they can possibly think is possible. There are more people out there every day that are becoming aware of the fact. And there won't be riots in the street, there won't be bloodshed. It's just a simple, sorry, no jurisdiction. Let's have a look at this. If the Australian government and Australia is a signatory to the or a member of the United Nations, we are a member on the basis of the equal sovereignty of Australia and England. If that is the case, no law of the British Parliament can be used here. It's an offence under international law. It is against the Charter of the United Nations. And if someone attempts to use British law against you in this land, in Australia, they are committing an act of war pursuant to Section 51 of the Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. It's really very simple, you know. And this is not open for debate. This, all I'm stating, is cold hard fact. There's no way around this. You know, we get dragged into court, and we're told by the court that even though we don't even understand what's going on inside their law pursuant to their jurisdiction, that we have to stand there and cop it. The British Crown gets its judge and one of its own legal experts or practitioners to represent us and say, oh yeah, my client pleads guilty, when his client doesn't plead guilty. The client's not subject to the law. How can he plead guilty to it? You know, it's about time all this rot was addressed. The time's come. And it doesn't matter what I say, and it doesn't matter what Kevin Rudd says, and it doesn't matter what John Howard says. Kevin Rudd will go the same way as John Howard. John Howard is now wallowing in oblivion. Okay? It's as simple as that. Have a look what happened to him. After 11 years of progressively degenerating the psyche and the spirit of the Aboriginal people in his own mind, not in actual fact, but in his own mind, he thought he'd done a good job. He thought, well, gee whiz, I've been the Prime Minister of Australia for 10 or 11 years and I've done a really good job. I've really kicked the blackfellas in the guts. I've ignored their rights. I've ignored their privileges. I'm a really good Anglo-Saxon Australian. Well, Mr. Howard, you are a disgraceful person. You know what I'm talking about. Your staff have informed you of where I'm coming from, as you're fully aware. The time's come for Australia to stand up as one. We've got people in Australia, like, as I said before, I hate the term white Australia, black Australia, but non-Indigenous Australia will probably not be aware of the fact that the High Court of Australia has passed a judgment that says if you own land, you don't own it. The only rights you've got is to walk on it and pay government charges in respect of it. You're free to hold it, freehold land, you're free to hold it till the Crown wants it back. And it's not even our Crown that wants it back. You know, they stole it once from the blackfellas. Don't think they won't steal it off you. Have a look at a case called Bone versus Mothershaw. Judgment handed down in the High Court of Australia on the 3rd of October 2007. Have a look what the judge said about your rights if you own freehold. Oh, sorry. Have a look what the judge says about the utter absence of your rights as a landowner. If you think you own your land under freehold or fee simple title, you really need to wake up. The only sovereignty in this country that can protect your land, if you own it, under British title, is Aboriginal sovereignty, because under British title, under British sovereignty, they're going to come and take it off you the same way they think they took it off us. And I don't know about you, but when I was a little kid, I was taught one very, very basic tenet, and that was, if you take something that doesn't belong to you, you are a thief. Now, I'm not sure if the head of the Church of England can comprehend that simplistic description of the fact, because she would have to be the most monumental thief on the planet at this point in time, still raping and pillaging and stealing our natural resources for her own good, for her own personal wealth. How much does this person want? How much does she need? This is part of our land. No wonder they want it. Too bad they don't got it, because it's not theirs. The thief never owns what they take.